Hello, Doug. Would you personally miss bees if they disappeared?
Oh, when I first found out that bees were starting to disappear about 2 years ago, I really freaked out the way I used to freak out. You know how when you're a kid and you see the wrong movie at the wrong week and it just stays in your head and wrecks your life for a few years? And I don't know. I mean, there's things like bees and frogs and coral reefs that are kind of the warning signals in our planet. And I'm paying a lot more attention now thanks to the bees. As long as you can make another human being say, what happens next? Then you've told a story. I mean, the reason we have books and the reason we have stories, it allows someone else to come in and hijack your internal voice for a while so that you don't have to do any of the work. When you hear a story, when you read a story, it sort of somehow ennobles our life, because you have to think, we're born and then all these things happen to you and then you get old and then you die, or maybe you die early or whatever. In order so that we don't go crazy, we imagine that our lives have to be stories, you know, and that, you know, whether or not it's true, it does seem to work. News stations from around North America, when they recruit new members of the Channel 3 news team, they get people from the West because their voice sounds more neutral or generic, like the voice that most people have inside their heads. Which is why I'm always sort of making jokes about the Channel 3 news team, because it's this universal constant inside our heads.
More people get their news from Channel 3 than any other source. The Channel 3 News Team. We speak your language.
Solon. It's me time. Solon CR is a treatment option you and your healthcare provider can consider along with lifestyle changes. It can be taken for as long as your provider recommends. Until you know how Solon CR will affect you, you shouldn't drive or operate machinery or make major life decisions under the influence of the drug. Be sure you're able to devote 7 to 8 days to sleep before becoming fully re-engaged with society. Sleepwalking and eating or driving while not fully awake with amnesia for the event have been reported. If you experience any of these behaviors, contact your provider immediately.
The most attractive letter is a Gill Sans medium bold uppercase letter U with umlauts on top of it.
Which letter is the most evil?
The most evil letter? Oh, you know what it is? It's J. Because like all the other letters of the alphabet, they've got their own gig going. And you've got I, which is a dot, and J is kind of like, nyeh. Like they ran out of ideas or something.
Which is the loneliest letter?
Oh, the loneliest letter? A lowercase m, and I don't know why that is. You said the word lonely, and I just see a little m all by itself floating in space with nobody around it, and it's like in tears. I can't believe I have answers to these things. It's just freaking me out, actually.
Have you or someone you know ever made an earth sandwich?
Oh. The thing about being in the Northern Hemisphere is that it's almost impossible to make an earth sandwich with the Southern Hemisphere. And I've been to Madrid, Spain, which is the exact opposite of Auckland, New Zealand. And I've been in Honolulu, which is the opposite of Harare, Zimbabwe. So those would have been my 2 chances. Other than that, no. All the land is up in this hemisphere. It's just water down there.
What are your first memories of getting on the internet?
I remember the dial-up noise. I remember that there weren't actually that many places to go to. And the best we could come up with was a weather site out of UC Berkeley that showed you Doppler radar ships off the coast. And they're going like, man, this thing better get more interesting than this pretty quickly or else it's not gonna last.
How to make an Earth sandwich. Here's what you'll need. A mobile phone with a camera and GPS capabilities. A slice of bread, a friend on the opposite side of the Earth with a slice of bread and a similar phone. Okay, Let's get started. Step 1. Use your phone's online map to locate the exact opposite place on the planet from you. Step 2. Hook up with someone close to that place. Step 3. Each person places a slice of bread on the ground. Step 4. Take photos of the slice of bread at the same time. Congratulations! You've just made an Earth sandwich.
Your news team, the Channel 3 news team, the faces you know, the people you trust, the experience you rely on. The Channel 3 news team, we speak your language.
If you had to give up one of the 5 senses, which one would it be?
Smell.
Paper clips or staples?
Staples.
I suggest you go to the medicine cabinet and take some Solon.
Oh, Solon. I mean, what Solon does is you take it and you don't need people anymore. It turns you from a dog into a cat, kind of. That instead of being isolated or instead of feeling alone, you just get kind of like that peopled out feeling where you want to be by yourself and you're quite happy to do that. Like after you've been at a long, long party and you just want some time to yourself. It's like that, but it's like that 24 hours a day.
Channel 3 News, live local coverage with no spin, always to the point. The Channel 3 News team, we speak your language.
Solon. It's me time. Solon CR is a treatment option you and your healthcare provider can consider along with lifestyle changes. It can be taken for as long as your provider recommends. Until you know how Solon CR will affect you, you shouldn't drive or operate machinery or make major life decisions under the influence of the drug. Be sure you're able to devote 7 to 8 days to sleep before becoming fully re-engaged with society. Sleepwalking and eating or driving while not fully awake with amnesia for the event have been reported. If you experience any of these behaviors, contact your provider immediately.
Are you still writing books in the same way as when you started almost 20 years ago?
I used to be a really compulsive note taker. I used to have these notepads like you get at gas stations everywhere I went. So for the first few years, I sat there with hundreds of notes around me and I'd cut them out and tape them or whatever to pieces of paper. If I saw something interesting during the day, I would write it down, a word I heard that had resonance or something like that. I mean, nowadays I'd probably just take stuff like that and put it onto Twitter. What I do now, and this is kind of cool, is I'm on Gmail. And so every day at the end of the day, I save the work I've done during the day. You can go back, and I've collected maybe 300 or so saved versions of Generation A. And then what I want to do is a QuickTime movie, is I want to take the actual page 1, then whoop, turn to page 2, then 4, then to 8, then 16, and make like a QuickTime movie of the making of the book. And that's something I don't think I could have done in the old days.
Have you experienced it to be better to make your way through life part of a group or on your own?
Really helpful people are like money. That came out wrong, but it's kind of true. I mean, I think it's part of our culture is that everyone wants to flatter themselves and think that they made it on their own, that they're a unique individual or something. This is kind of freaking me out actually, because I've never even thought of this as a question. So now I'm like looking back my whole life, like I'm drowning or something, and I'm trying to figure out, you know, how much was it? Well, how much of it was me?
Is Generation A a sequel?
I happen to agree with Marshall McLuhan that electronic technology stops us from being individuals and it turns us back into tribe members, or it re-tribalizes people. And Generation X was written in 1991, and electronic everything was beginning to hit culture quite quickly and quite heavily. And now I think Generation A, you have the same story structure, people going off to the wilderness to tell stories, been going through 2 decades of retribalization, and we're just that much further into the process. Neither of the books is about a generation per se, as they are more tombstones to the notion of generations.
Thank you, Doug.